hello. How's everybody doing today?
You won't see me anywhere, but you will feel in the air that I am there.
All right.
For a time I will be
All right.
away, with the wind gusting along. I'll just say it won't be too long. Soon enough we will meet one day.
All right. What's everybody been up to today? What's today? Tuesday. How's everybody's week been so far?
The time passes by, and all we shared was a moment, I know. But that moment will shine us through to the sky. So don't look back, let the moment be forever. Speed of time was different for us. Not to say that was all bad.
I'm gonna do some painting today.
Nonetheless, those moments we treasured will be carved into stone eternally. So please never forget all the precious time we shared. The warmth of your hands. Don't forget, don't look back, I'll be there. Promise me that you'll walk again. Won't you show me that smile? And I know you will find that someone who will help you move on. Since that day you came into my head, our story began. So don't be scared to reach out for someone. I know you will be fine. Just go on.
What happened to my other brush? Oh, there. I thought I lost it to the void. Let's do what happens, right? Jade, how's it going? So what's up is this. Not much else. It's been a really uneventful day. Nothing really. Ooh, 35. Enjoying the weather. It's about 40 degrees here. But we're supposed to get snow this weekend. So definitely gonna enjoy the weather while it lasts. Not, we're looking forward to it. Overdid playing Deadpool last night. We had too much fun. Yeah, I've been wanting to try Deadpool out, but every time I go into a match, he's always taken. He gets like taken like right away. But I did do a comp match last night with when did I play? Sometime yesterday. I think I played like yesterday morning or something. I played a comp match with Kenny. I gotta say that went pretty well. But everyone's been complaining about Deadpool, which is just super fucking annoying. And like, there's like no way to turn off like all the like the visual clutter that he brings. People are like, they're like, man, this game was already like overstimulating, but now with Deadpool, it just makes it worse. And I'm just annoyed with the lack. I think it's not really the dialogue between him and Galacta, but like the lack of dialogue between him and Galacta. Like, there's maybe 2 or 3 lines, I think, of like banter between the two, and like that's it, and it gets old real quick. And then there's other people that are like, just like write it out. People will go back to their mains or whatever. But I might play some Marvel Rivals on Saturday. Might have like a late night stream or a later stream. Yeah, no other character. Yeah, I just wish they would have, like, given them more dialogue, just so it wasn't the same thing over and over again. Oh, you have to go back to work. I'll have fun with work. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Deadpool sounds easy, but since I said it, probably yeah, you have fun. Yeah, it's just that. It's just that over and over and over again. Oh, high level monster. Yeah, I don't play monsters. I have monsters. The Doritos Powder Dragon? Excuse me? What do you mean the Doritos? Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about. Not the last one. He leaves the blast particles. Maybe you're just hungry. Man. I mean, maybe that monster just ate too many Doritos. He just turned into Dorito. He Pussycat. What's up? Alright. Cozy. Okay. Mm. song that's playing right now. This should be the Breath of the Wild. Yeah, that's what's Breath of the Wild. It's one of the blights. Yeah, I need to get the Switch 2 upgrade pack for it. Oh yeah. Agreement this time. Felt like you missed out on Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. Like I don't know, if I had to choose between Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, even though there's a lot less in Breath of the Wild, I'd probably keep it. like, it's like there isn't like all of like the water of Tears of the Kingdom. Start them, but you can never finish. I mean, those Zelda games, you know, particular, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, like, it doesn't. There's just a lot. And it's like with those games, it's like you don't know where to start. Or well, no, you know where to start, sort of, because they kind of tell you how to start. But like, there's no linear path to it. But like, then there's games. Then you have like the normal, like, kind of streamlined Zelda. You know, like Twilight Princess or Pearl, linear style. Like Echoes of Wisdom was really good. I enjoyed Echoes of Wisdom. I should play that one. Yeah, play all in one sitting. Yeah, I can definitely feel that. Alright, have fun. don't think so. Well, it's really cool and dual base, so good for you. Alright, I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back.
Floria's taking a break, so get up, stretch, and get yourself a snack. She will be back soon. Floria is back from her break, so sit down, scrunch up, and hanker for a snack. She is doing the things again.
Alright. Oh.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying yourself. This next song is definitely one of my favorites. I hope it's one of yours too. It's called Night of the Wind.
Welcome to the greatest storm. I know
the bad time. Okay. In there. I'm listening to this really good podcast.
Why I get triggered when someone gives me unsolicited advice. When I was younger, it came mainly from family.
Yeah. One. What am I trying to do? Right.
And not so much about what capacity.
The room. Like, I think that some people might think because, you are black.
Oh yeah, so there's this interesting question that he asked about.
Differently. So I don't know that it was the program, but I would say for the program that I was in, I don't know where that has come from. I understand the context behind it, but there's no such thing as men's mental health. I was at least like to a 2-parent household, that if just being started, I was going through the program. I don't remember. It's just context.
A lot of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of what you talk about as well is this victimhood narrative that can be holding you back in a lot of ways, or victimhood culture that we live in. Do you think that that most clinical psychology training programs are too woke these days? What are your thoughts
I find this
on
question
the
interesting.
woke continuum and sort of teaching training programs through that lens?
So how do you, when you say woke, Dr. Scott,
What do I mean about it?
Yeah. What do you mean by woke?
I mean viewing everything through the lens of race and gender, and that's it. Period. End of story.
Oh,
Like, woke is a little bit more nuanced than that. I think it's more than just race and gender, but it's also like political ideology and shit. But
I think it's very limiting. And I think it's limiting because race, gender is just context. When anyone is presented in front of you, it just gives you context for that person. I don't think that changed, because I think about mental health from a developmental standpoint. Like, we continue to develop people, support people in evolution in the same way that you would children. I wouldn't treat my children as if, oh, well, I don't know, he's a boy versus he's a girl. Like, to me, my expectations are the same in that. And I don't even know, I don't have girls, but my expectations are the same. Now, I know that there may be limits, right? Just based off of biology in that sense. But I think that it's very limiting for a lot of people. And when I was going through the program, I don't remember being taught about race and gender in a way that we started to shape people's identity around it. I
So
just remember it just being
the lady that's talking, she's not old, which I find super interesting. So it's either like she went to a fucking school like in Texas or like another more conservative state, or she's older than I think she is, right? Because or she just went to a shitty program because we are people in psychology programs we're 100% taught about how race and gender and sex and all those big old words that people are afraid of, we are taught about how that creates identity, right? It's a core, that's a core tenet of who we are as a people, right? If we don't live our lives, right? Like I don't live my life ignorant to the fact that I'm white, right? Or that I'm a woman. But like those identities are important, or those things are important to people's identity. So it's weird that she would say something like that.
context, it's information, it's understanding that there are pros and cons to a two-parent household versus a single household. Like, there are always pros and cons to anything in life. So that was my takeaway. But we all interpret information differently. So I don't know that it was the program, but I would say for the program that I was in, I did feel like a lot of people were adopting that information. Most recently, I actually have a clip that I'm going to do where I talk about there's no such thing as Black mental health. Like, I don't know
I
where
also kind of
that
disagree
has
with
come
that as
from.
well.
I understand the context behind it, but there's no such thing as men's mental health, Black mental health, woman's
Yeah.
mental health. It's just mental health, and mental health is universal. And I think we do people a disservice by adding all of these labels to words that already have like common language.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
like
like
that. Yeah, I mean,
that's also kind of a weird take as well, saying like there's not like any like specific type of mental health and that everything's mental health, right? And she states that she has clients, but it doesn't seem like she does, or else she would know that there's different expectations put on men than women, and that like men's issues are going to be different than women issues. And so like well, I do agree that mental health is just mental health. Mental health is very nuanced. Unfortunately, you have to put a label when it comes to my mental health issues. Right. So it's like, you know, and it's not like the kind of the mental health part that like is really the issue. It's more of like society and kind of what society pressures people to do, right? I had I had a client once. He was a teenager, and like he felt like the only way he could contribute to the family was financially. Like he wanted to get a job, like he wanted to do all these things. He wanted to be able to, support his parents. That that that's a man issue. I don't think women do not have that issue, right? At least I'm gonna argue that either women don't have that issue or they don't want that issue, right? Like that is a man issue. Like a man in our society, with men being told that they have to go out and they have to provide for their family, and that's the only way they can provide for their family, right? Is it shitty? Yeah. Yeah, it's shitty that a man thinks that way, right? 90% of the time they don't want that issue. What are you talking about? That women don't want that issue? Right. So I'm gonna make the argument that most women, they want to stay home. Like they want to have a family. Like they want to be cared for, right? And then that's just some of the man, man, some of these feminist groups. I don't think they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Like if if you go up to fucking any woman, well, a lot of women. I mean, I'm gonna make the argument that probably 90%, possibly more women, just they want children, but they can't, right? Like they want children, but um, there's so many. We can't you can't afford them, right? And there's daycares are too expensive. Um, the men, a man who would have a job, they're not being paid enough, right? I always like to go back to that one line of like men want stay-at-home wifeys, but they don't make stay-at-home wifey money, right? So like our societal issues around that is that people aren't making enough money to survive, right? And a lot of our issues nowadays, it's not a man versus women issue sometimes. It's a people versus our society issue. But let's move on.
Yeah, I think that you try to stay out of politics, which is pretty awesome and rare and
Also,
refreshing.
it's like people
So
in the
thank
mental
you.
health field should
Uh,
never stay out of politics. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. There is no amount of therapy that can fix what's wrong with our society. You cannot out therapy a poor minimum wage. You cannot out therapy violence. You you cannot out therapy what's going on in our government right now. Right. You have a therapist that goes, I don't I don't participate in politics, you fucking run, right? Because it means that they're not advocating enough for you, right? It means that they're not aware of societal issues. They're not aware of what's going on in the world, right? Luckily, this lady that's talking is not a therapist. She's a coach. So,
you're really focused on the real prize, which is mental health,
Hmm.
and for everyone. And I really like that. Well, I like your vibe. And I think it's just I'm trying to point out some elephants in the room. Like I think that some people might think because you are black, right, that you are far left and that you're et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like I hate how in our society today we make so many assumptions about people based on the color of their skin, which is a funny thing to say. Like that
So
shouldn't be a controversial thing to say.
since you bring it up, it goes back to context, right? Because now that I have so many people following me today.
Yeah.
Context, I do struggle with that now, right? That people are
Yeah.
wanting to place me in left, right, or you may have people say like, "Is she a coon?" Because that's a thing too, right?
Oh.
So I struggle with that today because I understand my plot. I understand what may make my journey different from yours or anyone else's, right? So I don't lose that. It's just context. It's not at the forefront. It's not the thing that leads and or drives me. So, and not so much about what capacity is. Can you hold the weight of your life without losing who you say you are or who you want to become?
Yeah. Well, you're speaking my language for sure. So the idea, this victimhood culture and there's a lot of nuance there, which you do bring to the table, and something you address is how we can hold space for real pain without glorifying victimhood as the defining story. That's really the nuanced question there. And how do you go about that? Tell me more about your approach to that.
I think it's one, acknowledging that pain is inevitable, right? Because you are a human, you're going to have these lived experiences and no one is exempt from pain. So I think it's acknowledging people's pain. The problem or where victimhood comes in at is when we start
Yeah.
to
Coaches are not
create
therapists. They're not they're not licensed. They're not licensed. So I mean, so coaches can sort of fulfill that role in a way, but like they're not licensed. Right, exactly. So I guess you could call them a therapist, but um coaches aren't allowed to call themselves. They're not allowed to say that they're like a counselor or like a psychologist, if that
identity around the pain and you start to rehearse the pain and it really becomes like who you are and your story and it pulls you further away from growth. I think it's acknowledging it. And I think that insight, people know how to acknowledge their pain today, but not necessarily grow beyond it or integrate their pain into who you can become. There's a lot of surface level talking today, right? About like pain, its purpose. But when you start to listen to people's language, that's where I usually can
coaches will
hear.
tell
And I
me to
think
get off
that
my
some of
ass and
that's
try
probably
harder.
just a gift of mine, Dr.
Therapists
Scott. When
will
I
say
hear
that
people, I'm
nicely.
like, I don't know if you
Yeah.
learned the lesson there because I can still identify areas where you may be protecting yourself, where there's some mechanisms, protective mechanisms.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm something I've been struggling with in preparing for this interview is I want to ask you some controversial questions, but I also I'm scared to.
By all means, I think it's important too because I want to practice what I preach.
Yes.
And because I don't plan on going completely off of social media and I'm going to continue to see where this path leads me,
Yeah.
it's a reflection of capacity. And I'll be honest, like if I don't know how to answer it, if it makes me uncomfortable, I'll say it. Because I think that that's also a reflection of what capacity is as well. So I say let's go for it.
Hi all. I want to take a moment to make a few important announcements that I'm really excited about. As I just and real overcome, but by empower, are you a person of self demand? Coaching help your by going for. I'm more concerned about me saying something stupid that gets me in trouble versus you saying something I think you're going to do great. I'm more scared about
Do you
did I
trust
say
your
that right?
intentions?
Yeah, and I think that's the really important point there. Yeah, is trusting your intentions. I love that. I love that you said that. I really do.
Yeah.
People know I'm coming from a good place, and I'm also coming from. I'm just very curious. I'm just curious. about things. So let me see how I can phrase this. I've noticed sometimes when I give talks about overcoming a victim mindset, I will get someone in the audience saying, "But Dr. Scott, what about black people? Or what about people of color?" And it that question honestly boggles my mind, and because I don't view black people as a different type of species. You're saying there's no hope for black. Like, what are you saying? My question is, like, how do you respond to that when you
I
get
know, right?
have you ever gotten that? First of all, you ever gotten that on your
Gotta
own
get rid of
Instagram pages, and then
all
how
that.
do you respond to that when people say, but what you're saying doesn't apply to marginalized people? Because I'd like to think my work applies equally to marginalized people as not marginalized people, and I think you do too. So this is my genuine question: is like, how do you respond to it? Because I've been working on how I respond to it. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I have not responded to it yet. But I do see it because and I think that the difference is when people hear you say it, right? They
Yeah.
hear it coming from a white male, and you automatically
Totally.
associate there's privilege there. So it's easy to dismiss you in this sense. And I think that in this case, I do have privilege because I say the same things that you're saying. It's just that I have privilege because people see me as a black woman. They're like, well, she know what it's like. And I do.
You have black privilege.
Yeah, I have black privilege in this sense. I have black privilege in this sense to say what the white person can't say to other people or feel like you have the audacity to say.
Yes.
And that dawned on me I didn't realize that early on, right? But as I continued to like watch my following, because if I'm being honest, when I first noticed, I was like, man, like my following is a lot of white people. And I was like, oh gosh. Right. But I just see people as people. And if I'm being honest, when I started like my coaching and my therapy journey, like I didn't cater myself to just black people or women because I didn't feel like I could grow as a professional. Right. And I ended up with probably some of the most challenging clients that made me enjoy this work just that much more. So when you say, how do you respond to that? I always go back to it's subject versus object, right? Can you separate yourself from your blackness? Because I am more than just black. And when I say like, it's no different from I am a mother, I am a wife, I am black. Can I take myself outside of centering myself around those identities enough to see objectively? And I don't think a lot of people know how to do that. I think that when we talk about identity and what we attach ourselves to, there's a lot of comfort in what it means to be black. And with a lot of things changing, some people still feeling like things have not changed. It's difficult to detach from that identity. And I understand that. But just because I understand that does not mean that I'm not going to call up your power, because I have hope too. And if I'm being really honest, what I would tell people is you're never going to change being black, and you have no control over whether America or whoever it may be chooses to accept you or not. And that's the truth, whether we like it or not. And I think that as time has evolved with more marginalized communities. And when I say marginalized, I'm referring to whether it's LGBT, or if you just think about disabled, whatever it may be, a person living with a mental illness, I can see myself in those people too now, if that makes sense. I think the difference is you're going to have the controversial conversations around LGBT, right? People are going to say, well, they choose that. Well, I didn't choose to be black, right? And that's too controversial for me, if I'm being honest. But what about the person that's born disabled, that didn't choose to be born disabled? What about the person that lives with a bipolar disorder and they still choose to get up every single day? And I think that because that's my way of thinking, seeing how all these things are interconnected, it allows me to detach. The other thing I would say is I still very much so think that, I think maybe 3 weeks ago I experienced racism. The difference is I don't pretend that it doesn't hurt or that people have to change. In fact, what I did 3 weeks ago was I came home and I cried. I was honest about my sadness, and I allowed myself to feel it. And after that, it still didn't change or take away the responsibility of who do you choose to be. I mean, so sadness does exist. Do I not have the conversations? I have 2 Black boys. Will our conversations be different? Yes, yes. But I think that when we're talking about developing emotionally, you have to have the ability to hold sadness and joy, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they coexist, and I'm okay with that. Like there's a level of acceptance with sadness, and I don't have to choose it all the time. But when it presents itself, I allow myself to be in it, mindful.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is, I have a chapter in my book, Rise Above, Don't Be a Victim to Your Emotions, where I say, you don't have to identify with your emotions. I think that this is all intertwined, issues of identity and, do you identify with your victimhood? Do you identify with what's best within you? I don't see a lot of people identifying with what's best within them as much as I'm seeing people identify with their pain, quite honestly. So when does identity empower growth, and when does it trap us in performance protection or limitation?
I think that when identity gives you language for who you are, and then it connects you with others. For example, I could say that I am strong, right? There are pros and cons to that. It depends on what I am strong means. If I am strong means that I don't seek support or I don't ask for help, then that's when it becomes more of an identity versus like just a label, right? Like I can say like I'm a runner, for example. And maybe sometimes identifying as a runner means that I know how to push through, because we do have those moments where you just have to push through. But if you see yourself as a runner, that subject versus object, then you're probably going to be just pushing through life at all times and not necessarily knowing when to slow down. So I think that is the difference. The identity becomes a trap when it turns more into performance and you're having to prove something. Like there's no permission to take a break from said identity.
Can you say that last sentence one more time? There's a lot there.
There's no permission to take a break from said identity, because your identity becomes more about a performance.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. There's a lot of performative vulnerability. And so what need is that fulfilling in a human? That's my question. One question I have. Certainly fulfilling some psychological need that the person obviously thinks they need.
So my mind goes to the 4 existentialism demands, and I think it's 2 things. I think of freedom, right? Like when you have this freedom to choose and be whoever you want, I think that freedom is overwhelming. And me, I see a psychological challenge. And the other thing is meaninglessness. Like life has no inherent meaning. And if life has no inherent meaning, it again is your responsibility to figure out what that means. And I think it's hard. Like it's hard.
Yes. Yeah. But maybe those are soothing illusions. Maybe that's not the best way for those needs to be fulfilled. Maybe there are healthier ways that we can point to. Yeah. Would you agree?
In terms of not attaching yourself, or well, I think it goes back
not
to
feeling the need to perform, feel that compulsion to every time you feel a certain way, you have to get attention for it.
I don't even know if people know that they're doing it though.
No, I think it's
'Cause I think
unconscious. Yeah.
identity development is
Yeah.
it's difficult because I think it's a spiritual journey too in a lot of ways. Um, I think it's difficult to really know like what. And I'll tell you where my mind is going, Dr. Scott.
Okay.
I got an opportunity to. Well, I just take like a lot of people within the medical field today. Doctors, for example.
Mm-hmm.
People want the title, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. However, the performative piece comes in when it's like, well, I'm a doctor and we work all of these hours, right? I say the victimhood doesn't look like what it used to when people used to say, like, you're just at the effect of what's happening to you. It's more so like, I'm losing because I chose to be a doctor, right? Like, I'm losing because I chose to go into the medical industry. And to me, that sounds like absurd because you have to do a lot of work to become a doctor. And then you somehow play victim to it, but because you have these conversations around burnout and the mental health conversations, I think all of these things have supported the victimhood narratives that we're seeing today.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, maybe they give an incentive.
Oh yeah, because it creates community too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you create community around pain and struggles.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So how do we shift people or show them the promised land from short-term strategies to long-term growth, especially when life feels overwhelming? Because obviously we are showing compassion here to people who are suffering. We're not the pull yourself up by the bootstraps
No,
kind of people, you know. Neither of us.
absolutely not.
Neither of us.
No,
So
it's not sustainable.
right. So what are some strategies?
And so
I mean,
I don't know that I
I mean,
really.
there's a little bit of pull yourself up by your bootstraps that you have to do. You have to do a lot to be a doctor. So why nowadays doctors don't know what they're doing? I think it's because there's too much. I think it's because there's too much. Right. So you have like your general practitioner that you go to for like when you have the flu or maybe like I don't know, an infection. Like you don't go to your GP for fucking tonsillitis. You go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor for that. You go to a specialist. Right? So that's why I feel like well, like a plan to keep you coming back. Yeah, like man, I went to a general practitioner once. My fucking doctor on base when I was still in. Right? It took like 5 appointments for them to refer me out to a specialist. I had to go back to that motherfucking clinic 5 fucking times to be like, please just fucking refer me out. Come on. It also has to do with money, as well. Because I wanted a specialist to be like, yeah, there's nothing I can do for you. You're just gonna have to fucking deal with it. Great. Great. I'm glad. Fantastic. Fucking they're basically like I can go take some allergy meds. Like, come on, man. Ugh.
Great with strategies because the first thing that comes to my mind is if I'm thinking about it from a professional standpoint, I think that as professionals, you have to ensure that your identity is not wrapped up in helping people. And when your identity gets wrapped up in helping people, I think it makes it difficult for us to sit with the discomfort of people having to go through the hard parts of life. And if I don't feel like I'm helping you in this moment or second, third, fourth, or fifth session, then what value added do I bring? So I think about it from that professional standpoint. You have to be okay with discomfort in this field. There are no quick fixes for it. And when we think about how the world is changing in terms of the demands, I like to say that I think that at one point in time, it was okay to cope. And I think that today you have to actually develop. Like,
Oh,
you have to actually develop people. And if we do not develop people, then people won't be able to meet the modern day demands that we're seeing. When I say the modern day demands, I'm just talking about more resources, more information that's available to you because you have to be able to.
She's talking about resources, but she doesn't get into politics. Y'all, this woman.
Discern and make distinctions between all of this information. And to me, that's your mental capacity. And from an emotional standpoint, if it's always too overwhelming, then you cannot develop in that sense.
No.
And what I've seen a lot within our industry is it's like, okay, well, you set boundaries, right? Or mental health has now becomes more like a safe word, and mental health shouldn't be a safe word. If I go back to my schooling and my training, I'll never forget. I seen a definition in the textbook. I don't remember the complete definition, but I saw the word optimization. And I was like, well, how can I optimize if everything that I'm thinking about doing puts me more into my bubble and protects my peace, protects my mental health? So then I started thinking, your mental health isn't something that you protect. It shouldn't become a shield. When I think about my mental health, I think of it as a system. It's how you think, feel, and behave. And how you think, feel, and behave should evolve over time. But I also say that that's a choice too, right? Because not everybody, if we were to use your word, not everybody wants to self-actualize, I guess, for whatever that means for each individual. There's so much ambiguity there because
Oh, the interesting thing she said about like self-actualization is that there's actually people out there who don't want to actually self-actualize. Like they don't want to go deeper into their problems, right? And like when talking about like this type of, you know, I guess ethical dilemma of you have a client who just shows up just to talk and just to vent and do absolutely nothing else. They don't want to actually fix any of their problems, right? They just want to sit there. Like, is it ethical to keep taking their money if you're not actually, I guess, quote unquote, doing anything, right? And like my argument, I'm like, yeah, like there is like a point of like where you have to be like, yeah, like I get that you want to talk, but since you've been doing this for like years, what are you doing, right? It's like it's like what you're constantly complaining about your life, right? And you're constantly needing to vent about what's going on, and it's like why haven't you like come to the realization that maybe you should change it, or like do something else or do something different, right? And it's like, begs the question. It's like, well, then what am I as like a therapist really there for? Right? Like I can just, you know, sit here, right? And just hear you vent about your life. It's like, but you're just is that what you want to do? Do you just want to be like miserable, right? For the rest of your life? Like is that what you want? But yeah, like there are people out there who just don't want to self-actualize, and they just want to complain.
A lot of it is based on, I think I saw you say something in a podcast recently about thriving, and it really caught my attention. I don't remember your exact words, but you said that you could have no mental health struggles or something and not be thriving, and you could live with mental health struggles and still be thriving or something. And I was like,
Yes,
that's so good.
it's true. It's true.
So good. So it that was good. That was really good.
I have a picture in the hung up there, which is I don't suffer from mental insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. And it has a girl who looks crazy on a swing. No, well, I think that we have this assumption that well, if you're perfectly mentally healthy and you follow all the rules of society perfectly, you dot every I, and that you show up to work on time all the time, and blah blah, you're somehow thriving in this world. And I've seen a lot of unbelievably creative people who are
Yeah, people
really
don't have the
productive
willpower
and
to
happy,
change.
and who have a little
Yeah.
bit of madness in them.
But the thing is, like, that's what
I
kind of
I
therapy
see
is
it. I
for,
see it daily.
is
I
to
recently had
kind of
a psychologist,
get that
actually a Black
willpower.
psychologist, that reached out to me, and well, I actually have reached out to her because I thought there was opportunity for us to collaborate, even though we have different world views. But she basically told me that your content is harmful, and it has the ability to do damage to our community. And I was like, okay.
How do you respond to that? You sound just so generous in to me in how you respond to that, and even extend like a potential like opportunity for cooperation and collaboration. I mean, that's to me that's a very generous response to someone saying something like that to you.
Well, because I could say the same thing, that I think her content is harmful, but I don't think that you get into this industry because you want to cause harm. When I look at her content and I see her say that I am an expert in Black mental health, like, to me, that doesn't mean anything, but I understand that it has meaning to other people. And so I would never say that her content it's harmful,
Usually
because I
therapists
understand
are
that
there to give
people
you a
are on
push to
different
something.
journeys.
Yeah.
And I think that her intent is to do
Office, and then like if somebody came to me and was like, oh, like my life's miserable, and I just can't do this anymore, and it's like, well, it's like, okay, like there might be some work to do when it comes to like um is there a deeper meaning or connection on why you're like this, right? But then some of it is very solution focused. It's like, and solution focused is the get off your butt, right? Kind of therapy. right? I really like solution focus because it's insurance companies like solution focus because you can pretty much do it in 8 weeks, because solution focused isn't about, you know, figuring out your daddy issues. It's figuring out, you know, where to go from from the present. You know, it's more goal oriented, more more future oriented approach um to therapy. And so it's like, if you don't need to self actualize or don't want to self actualize, right? Or maybe you have a whole lot of insight about why you are the way you are, and you're like, yeah, I don't need to go into all of that nonsense. Like, I just need to figure out where to go from now. Then solution focus is, you know, kind of your best bet or something like that. And it's definitely a get off your butt type of therapy for sure. And that's what I like about it. It also kind of ties into what's called behavioral activation, where it literally means, yeah, get up and go do something, right? Right, because the getting up and the doing something will help you in turn start to do other things, and it gets your brain more active and, you know, shit like that. Get a migraine, daddy issues. You know, some people act like that. I'm not gonna lie, right? Right. I don't think that I don't think that's too far off the truth for some people. Um,
You do good, put good out into the world. I think that when we as professionals start to take our roles too seriously, we could do harm in that sense. And I don't take myself that seriously. I mean, I believe in what I believe in, but
Right.
it doesn't discredit what you believe in.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's what a very mature stance you're taking.
I don't know if it's mature. It's just what I but
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if it's mature.
okay. Well, I'm glad we're able to have the kind of friendship that allows us to be so real with each other.
The way that I started, it was never about talking to like
to
white
blame
people,
their
black people. I
behavior on
just
some
wanted to
kind of
talk to
illness.
humanity, like in general.
You know,
Of
my
course.
husband tries to do that all the time because he's diagnosed ADHD. I don't know why he continues to try, because he knows that I'm a licensed counselor. Like, he knows I went to school for this shit. And be like, my ADHD, and I was like, you know you have ADHD, right? Like, it's not a mystery, right? And I'll like tell him, I'll tell him, he'll get like distracted, and I'll freaking yell at him and be like, stop being so distracted. He's like, but my ADHD, and I'm like, yes, and like, you're still distracted. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know you're distracted. I'm telling you that you're distracted. So stop it. Stop blaming it. Stop blaming your ADHD on everything. I hate it. I also hate it when people blame their behavior on like their mental illness. Fucking pisses me off.
Of course, yes.
And a lot of that is driven by my own values. Like I have children. I have a 10-year-old and I have a 3-year-old, and they don't see the world. I mean, my 10-year-old, he does not see the world in the same manner that I see the world. When I
Yeah.
think about a conversation, he he's old enough to know that Trump has been our president, right? And we don't talk politics in this house because race could come in often. I want my kids to be able to, both my husband and I, we want them to be able to explore on their own. But I will tell you this, my son, I think he was in, I don't know, second grade or third grade. And he was like, oh gosh, President Trump is the president or whatever the first term was. And I can tell you that other family members were really upset about him saying those things. And to me, it was like, you just have a child that's like, this is the president of the United States of America. You talk to my 10-year-old today, we were actually January of this year, we were coming through the airport and he said that he saw Trump on
Yeah,
TV,
how
and
did
he
that
was
make
like,
you
Mom,
feel?
I don't think
Right?
that Trump is a nice person.
Mm.
And I said, well, why do you say that? And he says, because I don't think he's kind to all people. And he says that the Obamas were really kind. We've never taught him that. And I didn't give a response back or anything to him. And I just said, oh, interesting, son. And we moved on.
Mm.
There's
Oh, you're a good
nothing to
mom.
say. And I get emotional from those conversations because I love my kids. Like when I think about my kids, like I think
Yeah.
about the world just being a better place. And when I say a better place, meaning it starts at home, meaning
Yeah.
the conversations that I feed into them. And I think about development, going back to development, when you
I
think
get
of,
it's parents. I don't know. Maybe it's because like I live like in an area with a higher black population. But like when I was working with kids, like you could tell that there was more issues with the black students, not because they were black students, but they were just treated differently. Like you could tell like they were treated differently. Even by like just by everyone. Like it didn't matter what race the teacher was. Like you could tell that like black students were treated differently than all the other students, right? So like there's an issue with that type of therapy that I did of noticing that there were more black kids than there were white kids. And most of the time, there was never really a problem. They were never a problem, right? Their teachers made them a problem, right? Because because those kids were treated differently than the non-black kids. And so like I feel like this lady who's talking, she's black and like not talking to her kids about like the disparity and like the it sounds like she lives a fairly privileged life, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that kind of bothers me with therapists is that I mean I'd say that myself I've lived a fairly privileged life. A lot of therapists you're going to find they don't come from low income families, right? Like they never grew up, poor. Even if they're like, oh, I grew up poor. It's like, bitch, you grew up in the suburbs. right? Like, what do you mean? You grew up in a white suburban neighborhood where houses are like $200,000. You weren't poor, right? You were middle class, right? Just just because you didn't have an iPad like, you know, all your friends didn't mean that you weren't poor. But you should always be talking about race with your kids, especially if they bring it up, like, because not everybody's treated equally.
Industry versus inferiority. People don't like when I say it, but as Black people, we have a responsibility to make sure that we're not starting the conversations that creates a sense of inferiority in our household. Children see color, yes, but they don't understand race. And until they can developmentally get to a place, I think that the conversations that you have can create a sense of inferiority before they even know what's this whole black white thing that's happening. I know that at least for me, that was my experience. It's sort of they are better. You always have to work twice as hard, and that narrative creates those identity traps that we were talking about earlier, and also victimhood in a lot of ways.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more. And I just think there's such an obvious thing going on where I can make a lot of the same points you make on social media, and it just doesn't hit the same way because of the different colors of our skin. And I think that's so
Kind of came in at a weird
fascinating to
time.
me as like a human experiment as well, like at a meta level, not taking it personally. I get it. I'm not saying I don't get it. I'm not stupid. I get it. But I think it's interesting. For instance, I have long said suffering is not a competition. I really believe that to be true. I saw a beautiful, I think all your stuff is beautiful, but you had something where you said your pain is not unique or special. For some reason, when I make that point, it gets such pushback. Like, shut up, white man. You know, there's just a whole different. The messenger seems to matter, and that pains me at such a deep, profound level. That bothers me because I would so love not to be judged by the color of my skin, but by the content of my message.
Yeah.
This is not white man grievance, by the way. This is not what
Somebody's
that
going to
is.
listen to it, Dr. Scott, and I'm going to, for sure, they're going to say, here goes the white man doing what they do all the time. Like, they're going to call you a coward and everything else, and using me to exploit. I'm telling you, that's what they're going to say. Like, and I'm,
You're right.
They are. But I think if we go back to, like, if I put myself in your, I don't have a problem with acknowledging that because I see the humanity in it. I started reading your book. I enjoyed hearing your story about how you started off in like special education, and then at some point you were like, no, and then now you're teaching at some of the top universities. And I think if we like to categorize, what I've learned from, I always tell people, so I tell people that I went from shit to sugar. And then I wanted to go back from sugar to shit. So just giving some context, typical stories, grew up in the projects. Mom had me at 17 years old, no high school diploma, ended up dying of an overdose. And by the time I turned 18, 19 years old, one of my dad's brothers, he had made it. And when I say made it, he's built a multi-million-dollar organization. And when I came into his organization, I struggled. In fact, I don't work there anymore because I had to create my own meaning in life because it didn't feel meaningful and purposeful. But I am so grateful that I didn't have the terminology like microaggressions, and because I was so afraid to talk about my experiences with other people that I went to college with or grew up with, because it's like, oh girl, you living the good life. But I really felt like I was suffering. Like I felt like I had did well in, like growing up in the projects because I had really appreciated what I had. even though I wanted more, but I appreciated what I had. And then when I went into that situation and I started to, like, I had power, right? Like, we have power now. I have the ability to fire you. I have the ability to fire you as a white male. And I think that when you having that experience changed me in a very transformative way. One, I realized that power will reveal who you are. Because there are certain things that I could not do, and there are things that just also revealed to me how I could even be evil in a sense, right? And then just knowing that people are going to be people, like the things that people would say to me, knowing that my uncle owned the organization, they still did what they did. And I would say that my uncle is very open-minded in a sense. His organization represents a melting pot. And that means that he's been able to grow in different ways. He didn't just stay in his bubble of like, we're just going to hire all blacks, because that's not a representation of who he is. He believes in humanity and people and in general. And I think that some of that has rubbed off on me as well. Like my dad, I don't know anything else besides this. I get emotional. Like, I don't know how to hate. I don't know how to hate, even if you hate. So for me, that is hard. It does not feel right to my core. And I've had the experiences where, because I'm in corporate now, where I could go to my uncle and say, like, I'm so angry, right, around the killings of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, and like, let's just fire one of them. I don't have the heart to do it. Like, it doesn't feel right. But to know that we could have those kind, you start to really see yourself in other people. And I really got that experience. And I don't know that other people can really take a look at themselves in the mirror, or some people just don't have that exposure. And because I've had that exposure, like, I can't undo my experiences. Like, it's like, how do you take those experiences and truly grow and evolve for them? So when I see people, I see people. I still see the context, right? I'm not oblivious. I understand racism. I know when it's being exhibited towards me. I honor it and I move on, because acting within integrity and what my values are is the only thing that truly matters to me.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thanks for sharing all that with me. In a lot of ways, what I'm hearing you say is you really like to lead with your best self. And I don't know why that needs to be a controversial thing to say these days, that we're in any moment we can choose to react from a place of pain.
I don't lead with my best self. I just automatically
past.
assume just people are assholes. No, I'm kidding. I don't assume people. So sometimes I wish I just had that personality.
Or we can choose to react with a place of what will cause the optimal growth for me and this relationship. What will allow me to demonstrate my character?
Yeah.
What will allow me to demonstrate there's hope for this situation to be resolved, not I'm going to say something that's going to continually perpetuate a cycle of aggression and leading to nowhere good.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing you say. And I think it's wonderful. So I'm so glad I could get you on my podcast today to highlight that message, to highlight your message, which is so important and so needed right now. I think it's unfortunate that in certain circles, this message is controversial. I almost think I would use the word absurd that it's controversial.
I would agree. And I thank you for the opportunity. I don't believe that things just happen just because. One of the things that I get all the time, people are like, well, where's your research? And I'm like, I don't owe you any research. Like, in fact, you can probably go follow Dr. Scott for that, because that's what he does. Like, I'm just going to tell
he's a nerdy.
Like, we don't understand mental health. And I could pull out research, but I never started it for those reasons, and not to go down that path. But I think that we change or try, right, or work towards by having the conversations that you and I are having right now, by you being who you are as a person and being willing to share your truth, even with you knowing that there are going to be people like when this
Rex,
episode
what's going on?
releases, they're going to attack you for whatever reason. They're going to attack
Can we have
me
a
for
Moon Guy
whatever
shout
reason
out?
because
No.
it's just the way that it's just the way that it is. And then some people will
Yeah.
really appreciate it, but I think that there's
No, I'm not even
opportunity
playing Marvel Rivals right now.
to continue to spread your messaging, because I do think that the research matters. I think that we like to turn away from truth oftentimes. And to me, it's always been about it's just truth. And that's why I say with mental health, it's hard for me to listen to the conversations because at the core, I understand what mental health is and what it is not. So it doesn't really matter what anyone says to me because that's one of the things that I'm very stubborn to. Like, you can't tell me that your mental health is something that is supposed to become a shield or something you use to weaponize others with, because it's a system that you optimize no differently than you would do with your laptop. You update it and yeah. So I see it that way.
I like the way you see it. Identity is an interesting one. You know, I've been always very sensitive to how I'm perceived because of like I was given a special ed label as a kid, and that was that became the singular way people perceived me, even though that's not how I wanted to perceive myself. And I think the white man thing is an interesting thing because out of all my identities, I would say that doesn't even make the top 50 list of my most prominent identity. It's not like and so I think there's something really deep here that's like, what do you do when people persist in kind of imparting an identity onto you that's not even close to being core to your identity? And it goes deep. It goes into like trans issues, like what if you're, it's like you want to desperately identify as the opposite gender. People keep continuing to perceive you as your biological sex, right? So that's, I mean, trans people confront that all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I think in our own way, we all confront that in various ways. I think you confront that with people who insist on only viewing you through the lens of a person of color. I am saying I empathize that in my own way with people who persist in only viewing me through the lens of, oh, there's another white man talking about how suffering isn't a competition. And so I think that, even though we have a different colored skin, I really would like to believe we bonded here today over a similar human experience. Am I making sense at all?
Make a whole lot of sense to me, Dr. Scott.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on my show. I'm glad that in my own way I could shine a further spotlight on you, and I'm rooting for you. I really recommend people to follow you and your wise words. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That it's controversial.
I would agree. And
That was an interesting podcast. Not entirely sure, but I'm totally on board with that lady's views. because sometimes it's not about you. It's not about you and how kind of you view. At least it's not always going to be about how you view it and how you view mental health, but also about just how people view mental health in general. There's a small amount of having to participate in your culture, and you sort of have to participate within your society on how society views mental health and mental health issues as a whole. So yeah, like, I do think that, mental health is mental health, no matter who it is. But a lot of the times there isn't that perception. People have different experiences. They have different they have different views and different experiences in places within society. That's going to just make them inherently different than someone else. Like, I can't treat someone who, like, I can treat people the same, but if I see someone who lives in the inner city, and if I also see someone who lives out in the country, both of them are going to have way different experiences in life, and they're going to be dealing with a lot of different things and a lot of different issues. Most of the time, probably not going to treat different priorities. Wait, Marvel Rivals drama? Yeah. Marvel Rivals? Deadpool drama? That's what everybody hates everybody else. I don't know. I mean, like, wait, stream drama, the best kind? Like there's like a certain point when it comes to like video games, especially like competitive video games, so like you have to take it seriously. But man, if you're not getting paid for it, or if there's no chance that you're gonna get paid for it, then bro, why? Just let it go. You're paid, right, exactly. If you're getting paid for it, then you can complain. Right? It's like, just turn the game off. Bro. Try again later. I would do that with Splatoon all the time, right? Whenever I had like a losing streak, I would just stop playing for like an hour, and then I'd start playing again, and then suddenly everything was fine. 'Cause I got better teammates. Win big collab rivals? What do you mean? We can have drama. What? Big collab? What? Big collab of who? Man, I played Rivals on Sunday. Didn't really have any drama though. 'Cause I don't have voice. I don't have voice chat. It is for the best. What are you talking about? For the best. For the best. Apparently the boss type season when you didn't find any motion to play. Yeah, that's because it's Deadpool. little marker thing for Blood Bowl is really weird. Because there's a frog here. There's also lines indicating that there's ripples. Which means that this little up kind of be very weird. Probably. Probably. Anyways. I think this marker turned out okay. Not like I'm trying to make it like good quality or anything. I just wanna have it so I can play. But I got one guy done. And he seems looking pretty good so far. Down here. And there's a snail down here. And there's a little frog here. Alright, that's gonna be it for me today. Try to go for a walk before it gets dark too. You can do that. Alrighty. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it. I should find more podcasts for us to listen to. I like listening to this psychology podcast. Obviously. And history. I like Behind the Bastards. That one's a good one. If you've never listened to Behind the Bastards, good. Alrighty. You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Alright. See who's on. Alright, but thanks for everyone for coming to stream. I really appreciate it. Might be on Thursday. either painting or gaming, one of those two. Alright, well, I will let you go. Thanks for coming. You guys are great. Alright, but I'll see y'all later. Okay, bye. Sorry, I had to find someone to raid. Person I was gonna raid was like, yep, 3-minute ads. I'm like, okay, goodbye. Like someone else. Okay, bye.